His name was Vlad the Impaler, but in the Western world, he is known as Dracula. Vlad Tepes, infamous for his cruelty and impaling his enemies. But for the Ottomans, he wasn't just an enemy, he was the devil incarnate. He created terrifying forests of impaled corpses, with thousands of Ottoman soldiers left to rot on stakes. This wasn't merely a tactic of war, it was psychological warfare. Ottoman raiders would freeze in fear at the sight of his horrific handiwork. His mercilessness earned him the title of Kazıklı Voyvoda, the Impaler Prince. But who was this Vlad the Impaler? A monster? Or a cunning strategist who conquered his enemies with fear? And how did history transform him into the bloodthirsty vampire known as Dracula? Are you ready to explore this bloody legend through the eyes of the Ottomans? Then, let us embark on a journey into the terrifying reign of Vlad the Impaler and the origins of the Dracula legend. Historical background and his youth. Vlad Tepes was born in 1431 in Transylvania. His father, Vlad Dracul, was the voivode of Wallachia and a member of the Order of the Dragon. However, to the Ottomans, this title bore ominous meanings. Dracul meant devil. As a young boy, Vlad was given as a hostage to the Ottomans, living in Constantinople for years. He learned the art of Ottoman diplomacy, but also felt the pain of captivity. This captivity fueled his desire for revenge and ignited a deep hatred towards the Ottomans. Vlad grew up with this hatred, determined not only to destroy his enemies, but to break them psychologically. Unaware of the darkness brewing within him, the Ottomans released Vlad, only to face one of the most terrifying rulers in history. Rise to power and wars against the Ottomans. To claim the throne of Wallachia, Vlad made alliances with both the Ottomans and the Hungarians. However, once he secured his rule, he waged a brutal war against the Ottomans. In 1461, he swore loyalty to Sultan Mehmed II, but it was all a ruse. Under the guise of loyalty, he impaled Ottoman envoys and launched devastating raids on Ottoman lands. His cruelty was so terrifying that the mere mention of his name sent chills down Ottoman soldiers' spines. In 1462, Mehmed II marched into Wallachia with a massive army to eliminate this fearsome enemy. But what they encountered was a sight that shook them to their core. Near Targovist, Vlad had impaled 20,000 Ottoman soldiers, creating a forest of the impaled. This horrifying spectacle shattered the morale of the Ottoman forces, leading to a psychological defeat. Ottoman historians recorded this event as the work of the Devil's Army and forever labeled Vlad as Kazıklı Voyvoda, the Impaler Prince. Vlad's cruelty through Ottoman eyes. To the Ottomans, Vlad Tepes was not just an enemy but the embodiment of evil. His cruelty wasn't limited to the battlefield. He also tortured Ottoman prisoners in the most brutal ways. According to some accounts, he impaled captives alive, watching them suffer for days. Ottoman sources claimed that Vlad calculated the height of the stakes to prolong his victims' agony. For him, impalement wasn't just a method of execution, it was a tool of terror. Ottoman soldiers were so terrified of this torture that many preferred fleeing rather than facing Vlad's wrath. This psychological warfare turned Vlad into a demonized figure in Ottoman history. But his ruthlessness also provoked the Ottomans to be equally merciless in their pursuit of him. In 1462, Mehmed II led his army into Wallachia to end Vlad's reign of terror once and for all. Ottoman victory and Vlad's downfall. In 1462, Sultan Mehmed II launched a massive campaign to defeat Vlad Tepes. Instead of engaging directly, Vlad used guerrilla tactics to harass the Ottoman army. Yet, he couldn't overcome the sheer numbers and strength of the Ottoman forces. Mehmed II conquered Wallachia and replaced Vlad with his brother Radu. Vlad fled to Hungary, where he was imprisoned for years. To the Ottomans, this victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy, it was about vanquishing the devil himself. But Vlad's story didn't end there. In 1476, he reclaimed his throne but was soon killed. It's said that his head was sent to Constantinople as proof of his death, presented to Mehmed II. To the Ottomans, his death was the destruction of evil, and his name remained synonymous with terror. Yet, in the West, his legend only grew, leading to the creation of a vampire myth. Kazıklı Voyvoda, Vlad Tepes, Dracula. To the Ottomans, he was the embodiment of evil. To the West, he became a legend, the bloodthirsty vampire Dracula. But who was he really? A monstrous tyrant? Or a cunning strategist who ruled through fear? Through Ottoman eyes, he was a terrifying enemy. But in Western literature, he became an immortal vampire. This tale of blood and terror blurs the line between history and legend. But one thing is certain. His name, written in blood, continues to haunt the pages of history. Was he truly a demon? Or just a man shaped by the cruel times he lived in? The choice is yours. If you want to explore more of these dark mysteries, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. See you in the next episode.